Okay, I hope that you can hear me. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Semaphore Uncut, a weekly show where we talk about Semaphore, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and related topics. Plan for Semaphore Uncut is to be a weekly show and also to be interactive, so feel free to ask questions and share your comments in chat. And yeah, hopefully we will all together have some fun. Okay, so the topic of first episode is to show you how Semaphore 2.0 looks and how it works, and to show you the basic concepts that we built in Semaphore 2. Okay, so without a delay, let's jump into an interactive demo. I will create an organization, add a first project, create a pipeline, and explain you different details of the pipeline on Semaphore. Okay. So moving to my screen, I hope that you can see that. Okay, and yeah, I also see that we already have some comments, so yeah, feel free to post your comments and questions. Okay, so I'm going to log into Semaphore 2 and to create our first organization. Okay. So create new organization. Let's name it Uncut Episode 1 and pick organization ID. So this will be a subdomain where your organization will live and you can access it. Okay, creating it. And this is a welcome screen in the organization, which is giving you instructions how to get started with adding your first project. So let me take a very short break here and just say that you will see that Semaphore interface is pretty much read-only, and most of the actions interactions that you are making with Semaphore 2 are through CLI. So the next step is to install Semaphore CLI, connect it with our organization, and create our first project. So I'm using a dummy GitHub account for this. So flashing out this token is not an issue in this case. Okay, so let's copy this first command, bring up my terminal, and install a Semaphore CLI. At the moment, Semaphore CLI is supported on macOS and Linux. Okay, it's installed. Let's check version. Okay, version 5 preview 1. So the next step is to connect our organization. Okay, there is a typo. Thanks. And I'm going to connect my CLI to the organization on Semaphore. To check that it's working, I'm going to list my projects. Okay, it's working. So the next step is to create a repository, and I'm going to do it on GitHub. So let's name that Uncut Episode 1. Give a description. Okay, example repo for first Uncut. Let's make it public and initialize it with a README file. Okay, now let's clone it. Clone. Okay, Uncut Episode 1. And the next step is to call seminit. So seminit will create example YAML file, which is describing our initial configuration. And it will also create a project on Semaphore. Okay, so let's just take a look. Yes, so Semaphore directory is created, and you will see that we have Semaphore YAML, which is like an entry point into Semaphore, and it's the place where you specify your initial pipeline. Okay, so let's follow the instructions and start our first build. Okay. So moving here. Yes, we have our first project running. Master branch. Okay, so we have our first pipeline running. As you can see, this is like a five-step pipeline. We will take a look at the YAML file, which is describing it in a bit. But while this is running, let me explain you a few very basic concepts. So what you see here is a pipeline. It's built from blocks. These green sequential things are called blocks, and they are executing sequentially. If once the first block fails, the pipeline stops, and within a block you have jobs, and jobs are started in parallel. And each of the jobs is mapped directly to the agent. In our case now, agent is a VM, so each job is running in a separate VM in a completely isolated CI environment. While we are here, let me just jump into one of the jobs and show you how a job page looks. So one of most requested feature in Semaphore 1 was to give more space to the logs and allow developers to easier consume the logs, search them, and find errors. And that's something that we did. So that's kind of important for people coming from Semaphore 1 to know. So each individual job has its own page now. With this new design, it's using full layout. And also a lot of the things that were not really transparent in Semaphore 1, such as cloning of a repository, restoring of the cache, storing the cache, and so on, are now made completely transparent. Even the process of starting a VM is also now visible. Okay, one also tiny feature but nice is now you can select a couple of lines from your log. It's appended to the URL, and you can share it with your colleagues and work on fixing your pipeline. Okay, so we have one question here. Will you be able to use a cloud-based tool? Well, Semaphore 2 is a cloud-based tool, so it's a SaaS, it's a hosted CI. We have plans to also offer on-premise version at some point, hopefully somewhere late this year. Okay, so moving back to our pipeline, and I'm going to open in parallel terminal. Let's open that YAML file which was created for us. So let's start from the top. So we have just a version of the configuration pipeline, the name that you can set of the pipeline, and the first thing that you can see here is agent. So it's defined in where your jobs are executed, and so the only agent at the moment available is a VM. And VM is defined by two variables. So it's a type. Type is essentially a size of VM. In this case, we are using a VM which has two vCPUs and 4 gigs of RAM. And OS image is operating system image pre-built for the CI use. Okay, so seems people are happy with the view raw. Okay, glad to hear that. raw for logs. Okay, moving on. So blocks. Blocks is like the first section of a pipeline which holds all the blocks. And blocks are defined here just as a list. And as I said, they're executed sequentially. Once the first one breaks, the first one okay, we have a comment. Is it a new feature? Can't find the pipelines page in my dashboard. Okay. So I'll have to think about this question, and I'm not sure what it means. Pipelines page in my dashboard. Yeah. So, Quat, if you can share maybe more details or rephrase your question, I will be glad to answer it. Okay. So, going through the blocks. So, in our first block, we have a name of a block. Which is not required, but it's of course advised to use it because the UI will look kind of funny without names of blocks. And a task is a required element of block. The other required element of a block is a job section, which can define one or more jobs. Each job has a name and a list of commands that are executed in a VM. So while we are walking through this example, let's also make some modifications. So let's, for instance, change this one. So we have a Docker build and we have, I don't know, some environment smoke tests that we will run. And one other element of jobs in Semaphore 2, which is different from Semaphore 1, is that now you have to explicitly clone your repository. Later I will go into more details why we decided to move this kind of in user space and responsibility of a user. Okay, so we have two jobs, we have commands. And what is the other element? Let's say that we can here also define something which will be executed before these two jobs. So that block is called prologue, and contains commands, and then you can define a list of commands. So that's something which is prepended to all the jobs within a task. So a way to like dry this example is to move this checkout command into a prologue block. Let's just build, and let's say here smoke tests. Okay, so let's see what are the changes that we made. So we removed environment variables, we created two jobs, and introduced prologue. Okay, so two jobs in first block. Okay, let me push this and let me jump to my home. Okay. Okay, seems that we have some syntax error somewhere. Okay, let's review it. So now it's time to jump into documentation. So this example with prologue, and we have commands. So have I made a so that seems to be okay. So Docker build commands. Okay, I see. So I put a prologue into a job section while it should be in the task. Okay, let's separate it like this. So this will be appended to all the jobs. Okay, hopefully that will fix it. Okay, take 2. Okay, seems that fixed the error. Yes, and now in this first block, we have 2 jobs which executed successfully, and the pipeline is moving on. Okay, so once we explained task section and how it defines jobs, we can restore environment variables, and let's check that in our documentation. So end vars, and environment variables can be defined on a task level, so they will be available in every job. Let's say that this one is A and the value is A. Let's add one more, name it B, and let's do echo A second job and echo B in first job. Okay, so introducing and vars. Okay, so Marco, thanks for jumping in. Errors might be with verbose. Yes. Errors of parsing YAML configuration are in state that they are. But yeah, we are working on a couple of improvements in that area. So hopefully, in next weeks we will have something better there. Okay, and yeah, some people are happy that I'm using Vim. Thanks. Good. So let's jump to our master branch and see if these environment variables are printed. So okay, we have B here, and A should be in the second job. Okay, yes, and it's here. Good. So the next feature that I'm going to talk about is a way to handle various sensitive information, such as like files which can be SH keys or different types of credentials, or environment variables that are holding keys to AWS and any other type of a credential that you need to keep in the CI, but it's of course not recommended to keep them in your repository. So a feature which enables you to store those credentials and tokens is called secret. Are called secrets, and a secret is essentially a bucket which is holding environment variables and configuration files. So let me maybe jump first into our documentation to show you an example, and then we can add one secret to our organization and use it on this project. Okay, so as you can see here, secrets are required field is a name of a secret, and then you have ability to specify environment variables and files, and I will show you that in a second. In the meantime, let me try to address some of the questions. So Sebastian is asking, this presentation will be available after? Yes. Will there be a way to have different values for stored environment variables depending on servers? On Semaphore 1, we have to have the same values for all our environments. Yes, good question. In the meantime, videos, previous live session. Okay. So I will also explain promotions, which is a feature that is connecting different pipelines, and in that part I will answer Celine's question. Okay, so moving on with secrets. So let me bring my terminal, and yeah. Let me use this opportunity to explain a bit of how SemCLI works and how organizations work. So organization on Semaphore is pretty much something that holds together all your projects, your secrets, people, and everything is encapsulated in your organization. I'm pointing this out because in Semaphore 1 there was a possibility to also have something on your private account, while in Semaphore 2 there are just organizations, which you can also use for your private work and hobby projects. But organization is something which is holding everything together. And SemCLI at one point can be connected only to one organization on Semaphore, and everything that you do while you're connecting to that organization is executed within the context of that organization. So what's in and one other thing which is important is that within organizations there are like projects and secrets at the moment, and those are two resources that are available now. In future we plan to introduce also some other resources which will have a different use cases. And you can interact with those resources. You can create them, edit them, delete them, and so on. So to give you just a short demo of that, I'm going to use semget projects. So this command is going to list all our projects within an organization. Semget secrets is going to list our secrets. And we are going to create our first secret. Sem create secret, and then we need to give it a name. And project is named Uncut episode 1, so let's name it let's say sec1, secret 1. Okay. So this now created a secret within our organization, and it's available here. And now we can edit it. So it's sem edit secret, and then secret 1. Okay. So this is the name. That's something that's editable. And in this data part we have environment variables and files. So as a first step, let's introduce just an environment variable. An environment variable is defined by name. And this one can be, let's say, variable from secret. Okay, and let's give it a value 2. Okay. And now once this is saved and I quit the editor, secret will be updated. So get secrets, we see that it's updated 6 seconds ago, and we are now going to check the content of that secret. So sem get secret and sec1. Okay, and you can see now that we have introduced one environment variable here. Okay. Okay, let's move on, and I'll get back to the questions a bit later. So once we have this secret one defined within our organizations, we can use it within our project. And let's open our pipeline. And yeah, so we are going to mount that secret to this task, and that's environment variables at this stage will be available in all the jobs within this task. So secrets, and then we specify them by name, say sec1. Okay. So that means that secret will be mounted into this task, and environment variables will be available within jobs. And let's do here echo, and yeah, I name that secret var from secret. Okay, let's plant it also in the other task. Okay. So it's mounted within a task and printed in jobs. So first secret. Okay. Yes, and we have 2, which is the value from a secret. Okay. So moving on, let's take a short break and address some of the questions. So Daniel is asking, are the jobs VMs or containers? So yeah, jobs are executed within VMs, and in those VMs are, let's say, in the sense of what features available within them, the same as if you use EC2 instance or any other instance. So there are like no limitations in terms of operating system features that you can use. Can you use your own base image? No, at the moment you cannot use your image for VM, and yeah, at the moment there are no plans of introducing them. Okay, Angry Beaver Daggett is asking, just in order of future presentations, is there any comparison to pipeline feature in Circle CI? Well, yeah, we can do something like that in the future. Why not? Is secret encryption asymmetric? Well, secrets are encrypted with AES encryption, which is not asymmetric but symmetric encryption. And but let's say that a key which is used for AES encryption is stored in such a way that is using features of like asymmetric encryption, and what are the good things about them. Okay, Daniel is asking, is it based on Kubernetes? Looks like. It's not, but let's say that we took inspiration from how people are interacting with Kubernetes in terms of like CLI and how resources are defined. And I can maybe share a bit of a history how we came to this. So once we started working on Semaphore 2 like a year ago, the main thing was to allow people to store configuration within YAML files within their repository. And the second one was to create pipelines. And to connect them in different ways, and just allow our customers to have ability to model their complex pipelines and workflows. And over time it became obvious that it's like amazing thing to have all that in text files, which can be also, you can use templates, it's easy to script, you can automate different things, you can also generate them, have a nice boilerplates for your projects and so on. And then once we saw that it's like that amazing canvas, just like a blank canvas that you get, and you will see in a bit, you can draw here different complex things. We realized that from the feature requests and communication with customers that we have had, is that there are organizations that have just literally hundreds of projects, complex pipelines, a lot of things that should be set up, and that just a lot of clicks. Then there are also elements of like onboarding people, offboarding people, managing projects and scale and so on. And generally how people are addressing that is to various automation that they are like building on top of Semaphore to essentially orchestrate Semaphore. And then we like thought, okay, so this YAML with pipelines looks amazing. How powerful it is and what you can do with that. So how that would look if we would also allow people to control Semaphore in the same way. So then we moved from having those controls within Semaphore where you need to click on them and so on. Let's move that also into a CLI, and also use that YAML files as an like interface for interacting with Semaphore and resources. And we think that it's pretty powerful, and so far the feedback that we have been getting is really good. So people can automate ending of their projects, configuring pipelines automatically, creating secrets, managing secrets, connecting them to projects, and all that. Okay, so that was about are we based on Kubernetes? Okay, so the next question that Arik has: does the system know not to share secrets with builds that originate from external pull requests from forks? Okay, that's something that at this moment is not supported, but it's a known request, and that's something that will be available. I cannot say if it will be available, once Semaphore hits GA or a bit later, but that's definitely something that we know that's very important to people, and yeah, we will support that. Okay. So we have this pipeline, and we have created our first secret and added an environment variable. So the next step is to show you how to add the file to a secret. So samget secrets, sec1, sam edit secret one. Good. So files are defined by path, and yeah, let's put it just first file.txt, and yeah, we will need content for that file. And yeah, to put a content of a file within a secret, you have to encode a file into base64 format. Someone might mention that yes, Kubernetes is also using that approach, and it requires a little bit of like work, but it's great because it's solving the problem of like multi-line files, and general problem of even a binary files, or files that have like a different structure that is kind of hard to manage and in YAML. So let's take a file. Okay. Let me open a new tab. Maybe I can also zoom this a bit so it's easier to see. So, Uncut episode 1, and yeah, let's take the content on base of readme. So cut readme, and then we are going to do base 64 and take this content and put it in our secret. Okay, saved, applied. Let's check, get secret 1. Okay, it's here. And yeah, so now only thing that we need is to trigger a new build. And what can we do? We can maybe modify something here. First, pipeline for Uncut episode 1. File from secret. Okay. Okay, we have added a file, but we have not printed it. So let's do that. So let's say within first job, we want to, yeah, let's do cd into a home directory where file should be. Let's list files in the directory. And yeah, what was the name? I think it was first file, but let's check. Yeah, so it's first file.txt. Okay. Okay, so we jumped into our home folder, listed the content of the folder, and yeah, here is the first file.txt, and here is the content of our file. Okay. Let's take a look at the questions. So Julian is asking, a great feature would be that a project could sign a Semaphore YAML file, so no one without the key can modify it. Yeah, we have been talking about like signing files for different purposes, and so far we decided not to venture in that direction. It could solve various use cases, but yeah, as I said, we kind of decided not to work on that at the moment. About containers, is there a way to run Semaphore CI locally through Docker etc? Well, no. because Semaphore is using like VMs and spinning up a couple of VMs on a local machine would be a challenge. If in future we introduce agents, we could be like modeled with Docker containers, then something like that would be easier. Although that would also come with some other limitations. Okay. So maybe for a moment we can take a short break from playing with our YAML configuration, and I can show you one nice thing which we added in Semaphore 2, which is in its kind of alpha stage at the moment, but its ability to create your own dashboards. At the moment I have two of them here. One of those, the first one is called My Work, and it's listing all the activity that I have made. And it's like very nice. You can almost keep it on the side in your browser, on your screen, and whenever you push it just list. You immediately get what's the latest thing that you have done, and you don't have to hunt through the projects and the branches to get to your pipeline or to your job, but it's here, automatically extracted for you. And this other one, everyone's activity. In this organization, there is only me, so it's mine, but it's a stream from all the projects that you have access to within organization. Okay. Another questions that we have from Angry Beaver. What about debugging through SSH? Is there any way to do that? Well, yes. At the moment, I cannot show you that because that's something that we are still working on. But yes, you will be able to SSH into a VM which is running your job, and you can SSH, of course, into any VM of any job. Okay, so moving on. The next thing I wanted to talk about are promotions. And promotions are kind of junctions that are connecting your pipelines together. So this is our initial pipeline, and you can use it to model your, let's say, build and test process. Maybe just as in this example. So we have a build stage which could build your build container. You can execute some smoke test on it, then run your unit tests, and potentially after that integration or end-to-end test. And let's say that a deliverable of this pipeline is to push a Docker image into a registry. And what you would want, let's say in a simple example, to do is to propagate this to your staging environment and to see if that really works. Okay. I see. Okay, Marco. Mohammed is asking about caching things. I will get back to that. And Marco is asking, can you show yourself above the screen? Yes, I just now see that. Okay, sorry about that. You cannot see me. So it's... Let's do some configuration here. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out, Marco. I about caching. Selena, will the logs be publicly accessible? Well, Selena, I'm not sure that I know what would that mean. If you can elaborate your question or just give an example of what do you mean, I can answer that. Okay. So moving to promotions. As I said, this is our build and test pipeline, and we would like to model our deployment pipeline, which is, let's say, I'm going to deploy to staging environment. Okay. So let's open our entry point into Semaphore, which is pipeline defined here. Let's clean it up just to make sure that we will now have just 2 blocks, just so things are finishing sooner. And ability to connect this pipeline to other one, we have to define these promotions attribute here. And within that, we need to define one or more pipelines that we want this pipeline to connect to. And that's done by defining a name of a pipeline. And we will have to create a new pipeline file, where, a new YAML file which will hold the definition of that pipeline. And let's call it staging.yaml. And pipeline file is where we will okay, I mix this up. So staging.yaml is where our pipeline will live, and we will name this trigger staging. Okay, and now we need to define this staging YAML file. Okay, what we could do is just copy this Semaphore YAML file into staging.yaml. And let's clean it up a bit. So let's say this is our deploy to staging pipeline. And yeah, let's deploy. Let's clean it up a bit, just so it's readable. Deploying. Yeah, well, let's leave this one. So once you have deployed, you can execute some smoke tests against that. Okay, we don't need this here. So let's open in parallel also our Semaphore file. So yeah, Semaphore YAML is like entry point into our pipeline configuration. It's going to execute these blocks. If those are successful, or if they are not, even if they are not, doesn't matter. I will show you. We have this promotions block where we are staging, and we have pipeline file, which is staging.yaml, and in that staging.yaml we have defined our deployment pipeline. So yeah, let's at this point just, so we clean this up a bit. We added promotions block, and we added another file. So promotions, let's push this. Okay, so yeah, we reduce number of blocks in our initial pipeline to 2. Now we have our staging environment defined here. it's actually this part between dashed lines is something that's called promotions, and within those promotions you can have one or more targets to which you can promote. So staging is one of the targets to which we can promote, and we can at the moment it's possible to promote even while the previous pipeline is running. So I'm going to click on promote, and now I have triggered a pipeline which is modeling our deployment process to staging environment. Okay, this is running. It's also possible to trigger a promotion to a target multiple times. Let's say for whatever reason this promotion fails, you can run it again. And yeah, to generalize this a bit, let's also introduce a possibility to also deploy to, let's say we have two staging environments. So multiple people can, test things at the same time. So let's introduce one more staging environment here. So, okay, we are going to copy this staging into, let's say, staging1.yaml or staging2.yaml. And we can rename this one to staging.yaml to staging1.yaml. Let's first take care of our initial pipeline. Staging. Okay, this is also staging, so this is staging 2, this is staging 1. And yeah, we can change something, let's say staging 2, deploying to staging 2 environment, deploy to staging 2. Let's also make that change here. Okay. Okay. So initially we had one target defined in promotions. Now we have two, which are triggering to different pipelines, and we have introduced a new. Okay. Status. Okay, we renamed this one. Introduced a new file. Okay. So adding one more staging environment. Okay, so Quat is saying, oh my god, this is so good. Promote feature looks good, says Angry Beaver. And Daniel is asking, can you promote previous versions? Yes, you can promote previous versions, and I will show you that in a second. Okay, so now in our promotions block we have two targets defined, staging 1, staging 2. You can promote to both of them at the same time and see them running. Okay, so I obviously made some mistake in defining in connecting our targets to pipelines. Let's see if that's true. Semaphore.yaml. Yes. But as Angry Beaver said, it's too late. Okay. So yeah, by accident I promoted 2 times to staging 1 environment, which can be seen here, because I made a mistake in my file. Okay, let's see if I fixed it now. And yeah, it seems that I did. So staging to target is triggering staging 2 pipeline, and staging 1 target triggered staging 1 pipeline. Okay. So the question was, can you promote? Daniel asked, can you promote previous versions? You can. And yeah, the way to do that is just to go to that previous version. In our case, we just need to jump to our one of our previous commits that we made. And let's go even a bit further. And we can come here and just click promote, and that would promote to this pipeline again. Okay, just give me a sec to turn on the lights. Okay. So Arik is asking, who do I bribe for early access? Well, yeah, I guess that I can put my name on the list. Yeah, we will do our best to give you early access soon. So moving on. So we have 2 staging environments here. And another question Arik is asking, is the same VM used for all jobs, task and pipeline? So we can reuse resources like Docker images. Well, no. This Docker build job will use VM, which is just spawned and built for it, and once that job is running in that VM, once that job is done, that VM is destroyed. The same goes for env smoke tests, and yeah, the other block in which we have this smoke job is then executed in the third fresh VM, which is created just for it. So to propagate, let's say files, Docker images, whatever, through the pipeline, you have to store it somewhere. Essentially, in case of Docker images, it's best to push it to your repository, to your registry, which you can use for CI purposes, and then to pull it back in the in the next block. Okay. What are other questions that we have? Okay, Celine is reminding me. So, can you put different values for envars in the environments? I guess in the promotions part of a YAML file. Well, yes, if I understood it correctly. Well, you have in this entry point pipeline, in these blocks and jobs, you can define environment variables that you need, and these environment variables are not, not affecting your, let's say, staging one pipeline in any way. You can define completely, different values here. What else is important? So let's say that you need another secret, which will contain credentials for accessing your staging environment. So you can mount that secret here in this staging one pipeline, and that will not affect in any way initial pipeline. So example of that would be that you just mount here your, let's say, staging one credentials, staging one credentials here. Okay. Okay, so Celine, I hope that I answered your question. Let me know if there is, if I should maybe elaborate on something. Okay, Alexander is asking, how can you know which version is currently deployed to staging one, for example? Well, that's a great question. And yeah, I hopefully next week I will be able to show you how you can get those informations. But I can use this opportunity to kind of announce that. So apart from projects and secret, a third resource which is coming are dashboards. And dashboards can be defined in a YAML file, just like projects and secrets. And there you can describe what you would like to pull in from different branches, different promotions, and different pipelines. And what that would allow you to create a dashboard and specify. So on this dashboard, I want to see, let's use a concrete example. Let's name that dashboard Uncut Episode 1 Staging 1 Environment. And you want to see a list of deployments that happen to that environment. And to do that, you will pretty much have to specify a couple of things. So you would have to specify, I want from project called Uncut Episode 1, and I want to list there all the runs from deploy to staging 1. And this deploy to staging 1, you can pretty much connect your server to this and let's say environment by specifying name of that YAML file. So yeah, in that dashboard configuration, you would pretty much have to add, let's say, roughly speaking now, two variables. You will have to say Uncut Episode 1, that's the name of the project from which I want to get pipeline, which is specified in staging 1 YAML. I'm not sure at the moment if you will also need to specify the name of a target. But that would then list all the executions of this pipeline, which is modeling deployments to staging 1 environment. Okay. Kuat is asking, is it possible to run pipeline on my own dedicated servers? No, that's not something that's possible at the moment. With the release of enterprise versions, that's something that will be possible. Okay, so Julian is commenting, I have put myself in the list, so so far nothing. Yeah, we have a lot of people on the list, and yeah, we are waiting to just complete and polish some of these features which are really important, and then we will start letting people in a larger number. Okay, Serena is asking, thanks. Really cool, thank you. Okay, so I'm glad that I answered your question about configuring environment variables in different environments. Okay. So next step is to show you how you can also add, let's say, production environment here and how you can propagate to your production environment. And let's say that we want to model our pipeline in such a way that we can trigger deployment to production once we have tested something in staging environment, that we can also promote something in production environment. And I'll now show you that you can pretty much chain these pipelines together pretty much indefinitely. And all this together, these different pipelines chained by these promotions, is what we are calling a workflow. So workflow is a collection of pipelines which are connected with these promotions. Okay, Alexander is saying, awesome, there's a lot of such stuff. Thanks. Okay, great. Okay, moving on. What do we need here? Actually, we need our staging 1 YAML. And here we want to connect that to our production deployment pipeline. Let's just say production and pipeline file, which we don't have yet, but let's name it prod.yaml. Okay. Okay. Production deployment pipeline. Prod. Okay, this will break our pipeline, so I have to remove this from here, also here, because this secret is not defined. But actually, maybe we can define another secret for the purposes of production deployment. So let's say production credentials. We don't need this environment variable. Jobs deploy to production. Yeah, as you can see in these, if you have a block which is holding just one job, then these names can be a bit redundant, but it's still good to specify them. Maybe I'm using this like dummy example, and like it's hard to come up with a meaningful name. But yeah, hopefully it will not be the case in real life scenarios. Okay, so let's see, what do we have here? In staging 1 environment, we are connecting our production pipeline to it, and we have our production pipeline here with two jobs, and this prod creds secret. Let's take this and also put it in staging 2, so you can promote from there also. Okay, and yeah, before we push this, we have to create this secret bucket. So prod creds create secret prod creds. Okay, so edit secret prod creds. Let's say we don't have files, but we have environment variables, and the first one is, let's say, named name AWS key value one more secret. Okay, so prod creds, save. Okay, Sam get secrets. Okay, it's here. Let's commit these files. So production deployment pipeline, and yeah, we have connected it to staging 1 and staging 2 environments. Yeah, and now you can see that after this pipeline, which is modeling staging deployment process, we have this production target defined, and we can promote to it. And yes, we have that pipeline now running also. So generally, we believe with that with pipelines and promotions, like a lot of pretty complex, continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline can be modeled. And of course, if you have any use cases that you think that might not be covered by this, feel free to reach out, and we will love to hear how your pipeline looks like and what we can do about that. Okay. About promotions in general, this is a pretty simple thing that I have shared now. There are many more details what you can do with them. For instance, you can trigger pipelines automatically in promotions based on various conditions, such as the result of a previous pipeline, depending on the branch on which this is executing, and also some other details. But yeah, we will have a dedicated episode that will cover all details of that. I can, in our documentation, which is very much a work in progress, we have these things. You can take a look. So this is one example where you can use auto promote on, and you would like to just trigger a promotion if the result is passed in the master branch, or if a result is failed and this branch is v2 something. So these are regular expressions, and the result is maybe that in the previous pipeline YAML file was malformatted. Okay. So I think that I owe one answer. I think that Mohammed asked, what about caching things? Well, that's something that I can talk more about in future episodes, maybe even the next one, which will be next week at the same time. Generally, the idea behind promotions, and that's something that we have, but I have not planned to include it in this episode, is that you can pretty much in any of the jobs specify what you would like to be cached. Let's say in this stage here you would like to put just some dependencies that you have installed here, and that will be have a task to execute in all the future blocks, and then we can store them in cache and restore them as you will in next blocks and jobs. Okay, So I haven't even noticed. This episode is actually over an hour now. So those are the main things that exist in Semaphore 2 right now. So pipelines, promotions, ability to specify or configuration YAML files. Most interaction with the service is moved into a CLI, which is talking to our API, and we are using that YAML as a syntax for talking with Semaphore. Maybe at this point I can also get semget projects, just to show you that projects are also defined by YAML files. And so semget project Uncut episode 1. Yeah, and there are two variables at the moment. And those are like the name of the project and the repository of the project. I think at this point with V1 Alpha, though you cannot modify them, but that's something in next release. That's something that should be possible. Okay, and the last thing, which is like kind of a detail, but we think it will matter a lot to people, that you can have all your work here, and it's like automatically, popping up here as you are pushing, and you don't have to hunt for your pipelines and your jobs to get the results. Okay, so maybe one last thing. Let me jump to Semaphore. So yeah, if you haven't already, you can sign up for beta access. And yeah, I understand that a lot of people are anxious, and we will do our best to let more people in. And this is also a mailing list on which we will be mailing announcements of future episodes, but also you can subscribe on YouTube. That's also a way to get notification about future episodes. And yeah, as I already said, these episodes will air weekly. Okay, one last questions or two. What about pricing? Will it be based on number of jobs as for current version of Semaphore? Well, there will be some changes in pricing, but that's not something that I can talk about at the moment. And yeah, one of the reasons is that we are still working on that. Okay, and Wilbur is asking, we currently have an issues, whereas if we want to use latest Yarn versions, it takes a lot of time. So we have to use version installed in Semaphore platform. Is this something we could override on Semaphore 2? When in case of an execution environment for jobs, Semaphore 1 and Semaphore 2 environments, roughly speaking, will be similar. So if something is not pre-installed on the version that you need, the only option is to install it again. However, we think that Semaphore 2 will bring much more powerful caching system, where you will be able to use caches, let's say, in a way as you have like an attached hard drive to your jobs. So I hope that's something that could solve your issue. Okay. So yeah, that's all for this episode. I hope that you had fun, and that we will talk about Semaphore and CI/CD again next week. Thank you. Bye.